Hey you guys, Brian from Our Thin Lines, proud business sponsor and associate of the Daily Comm Check. So today we're going to be going over a few different types of signaling, specifically MDC 1200, quick call 2. We'll go through and touch on DTMF, single tone, and the Astro systems. There's a lot of folks have indicated and they've reached out to me via email, phone call, and text message asking to go over and just explain the difference between and how to set up different types of signaling for their radio. So first things first, you have to have Astro 25 portable CPS for the following radios. The XTS 5000, model 1, 2, and 3, all frequency ranges. The XTS 2500, model 1, 2, or 3, in any frequency range, VHF, UHF, or 700, 800 megahertz. And of course, the Motorola MT1500, which is essentially the same thing as a XTS 2500. Again, same principles apply, model 1, 2, or 3. And of course, all frequency ranges. Okay, this information on this particular code plug is of course coming from one of our shop radios. It's an XTS 5000 model 3, model 2 housing, in 800 megahertz. Okay, I'm going to be using a couple different videos to show you, a couple different radios to show you specifically what each different feature does. It's the same concept, just on a different radio. So let's begin. First things first, you got to get the information on your radio. You got to make sure that your radio is able to transmit and or receive this information. So how do you figure that out? Go to radio information. System package. This will tell you what system your radio is equipped to handle. It may say conventional. It may say SmartNet. In this case, we use 800 megahertz, so it will say SmartNet. Model number. This will tell you the frequency that your radio is designed to handle, whether it's UHF, VHF, 700, 800 megahertz, 900 megahertz, whatever the case may be. Serial number. That's like your radio's social security number. I don't really care who sees this because my radios are secured. Flash code. This is important. You can either look this up online or you can go over here to feature set. And this is everything inside your radio based on your flash code. You can look it up and compare your feature set. It's just a redundancy, but I do that sometimes to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be and it's coming across correctly. Versioning. It's always a good idea to go through and check and make sure your radio's firmware is up to date, especially if you want to track your radio and see if anyone has had access to the software to copy, clone, or take pertinent information out of your radio. It's always good to see factory. You don't want to see depot. If you see depot, it means that someone's using depot software to add to your radio or to take away from your radio. Mine says factory because I have special applications through the depot software. And I know what I'm doing. So, well, at least I think I do. I don't know. So, let's go through. You're going to find all these options here under conventional. Under trunking, you'll find a select number of options, like trunking systems. Usually, no, I don't want that. Don't want that. No. Okay. So, we don't want to do trunking because trunking does not support the MDC 1200 the way that you're thinking it does. So just go to conventional. MDC. Click. MDC system. Click. First things first, if you're going to set it up, you need a 4-digit ID. Not 3 digits, not 2, not 1. You need a 4-digit number, meaning it can have 0001 or in our case 1561. I believe it's only 5 digits if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's 4. So like I said, let's go through that. Secondary ID. Well, let me backtrack. The primary ID is what the other radios or the base station or dispatch center will see when you key up on that frequency. Your secondary ID is essentially your talk group. So whatever numerical value your agency or you have put aside for yourself, your fleet, whatever the case may be. So ID and essentially talk group. Variable ID, don't really have to mess with. Radio check, radio inhibit, status request, and message. Don't really have to mess with that unless you're talking on a system, meaning communication between headquarters, dispatch, administration, and yourself. Push to talk ID. If you want to send it at the beginning of your transmission, like when you key up the button or you press the push to talk button and begin transmitting your audio, your ID will come across the other radios and receiving party's screen, and they'll see who's talking and what talk group you belong to. The side tones, if you're going to select, you can select the beginning and the end, by the way, so that when you're done talking, the ID comes across at the end, where it gives off a little bloop sound. I'll go over the sounds and the logistics of that in a second. Well, not logistics, ergonomics, whatever. I don't care. It's been a long day. Your ID side tone. So if you don't have the talk permit tone set up on your radio will, when you hit the push to talk side tone, will emit a very loud and annoying continuous audible beep for about like a good 2 to 3 seconds. I do not use this and I do not encourage the use of this. I will encourage this. This is a good substitute. It essentially is just, let's see if I can, no, it doesn't have this. It just sounds like a little beep. That's pretty much all it is, to let you know that you keyed up your radio or you have sent the transmission across. But from my agency's applications and uses, we only use trailing push to talk ID. Data operated squelch, this has to be selected if you're going to be doing MDC 1200 the way that you want, which is everyone's favorite Motorola sound. The operation, I usually leave this between 12 to 1800 hertz. Don't mess with the coast time, just leave it the way that it is. Emergency revert, if you're going to have emergency procedures and you're going to have someone there to answer and recognize and deal overall with emergencies, and you have this set up the way that it needs to be, you're going to set it up in each individual zone. So if you're doing mutual aid, you're communicating with other agencies, they may have you, yours can be zone 1, channel 1, they may have, in your radio, they may be on zone 2, channel 3. So it really depends on where you want the radio to revert to on each individual zone. And you can select zones 1 through 15 and channels 1 through 16. So wherever you want the emergency transmission to go back to, that's where you're going to use this for. Emergency. Emergency enable has to be selected in order to use the emergency man down button. So when you hit that button, the emergency type can either be alarm or alarm and call. Alarm means that it'll notify your dispatch center or the other users on the channel by just displaying a message on the screen. The call feature puts out a series of beeps periodically when the other radios receive that. Acknowledge alert tone. Don't need that selected unless you're communicating to a dispatch center. Basically, that tone comes back to you when dispatch acknowledges on their screen that they know you're in trouble. Your emergency PTT ID side tone, I would select that also. Hot mic, I would select that also, but again, this is entirely selectable based on your needs. So if you want, when someone hits the emergency button, or you do, for your mic to key up, and in case you are fighting someone or you're chasing someone, you don't have to worry about keying up your mic. It's already keyed up, and everyone knows that you need the air to talk for 20 seconds. This goes from 10 seconds all the way up to 120. In my opinion, 20 seconds is enough for you to get your message across. Advanced. If you look at system number 2, the numbers are astronomically higher by default. This is a default system. This is what it'll look like when you start your system out. So the pre-time is 200 milliseconds. The acknowledge pre-time is 900 milliseconds. That is like, it's just way too high. If you want to see what it's like, just go ahead and leave it like this, and I'm pretty sure you'll get the point. Preamble during pre-time, essentially that's another MDC 1200 feature, that when you key up the radio and that long boop noise, when you key up the mic, when you're receiving that loud audible noise through your microphone, the radio is sending over a packet of data to the other users. So however long or high this number is how long that continuous beep, like someone flatlining, is coming out of your speaker mic. It's absolutely fucking annoying. Preamble is a nice feature though. I think I could show it to you based on this. So essentially the preamble, you're not going to hear, aside from that continuous audible beep coming out of your microphone, but the other users, they're going to hear something like this. That noise right there is what the other users are going to hear. Standard MDC 1200, I'm pretty sure we all know what that sounds like. I'll show you for demonstration purposes. Let me see here. Yeah. So when you key up your radio, you'll receive that little packet of data at the end. That's how it's set up. Now, to another radio that is not equipped with this information, when it receives that MDC 1200 audio, it'll sound like this. And that's essentially what MDC 1200 is. It's just a burst of data that has an audible noise. So really all you're sending is information with confirmation that your information is being sent. Okay, so that's what the preamble is. It's that exaggerated talk per minute tone coming across. All right. TX multiplier, don't mess with that, leave it alone. Repeater access, this is how long it takes for the radio to key into the repeater. If you're not using a repeater, don't mess with that. What I would encourage is, if you're just going from radio to radio, set this as low as possible if you don't have the talk around feature enabled, so that your radio only gives that over the air once instead of 5 times. Okay, and just for reference, this is how it's set up. You can select this as long as you want, but the system that I put in place is for 200 milliseconds with 1 preamble.
Ram South starts arriving mainland.
Shut up. So that takes care of the MDC system. Quick Call 2. I'm sure that we all know what this is. The Quick Call 2 system is essentially when you key up on your radio and you select a particular radio or talk group, a series of audible tones come across. The call format depends. It could be a very large selection of a series of either 2, 3, or 4 audible tones. Or actually, no, it goes up to 6. So this is another topic that we can cover very quickly. So most users either use single tone, where it's one continuous tone, or it's if you're, for instance, paging out an emergency response team, rescue team, security response unit, CPD, a close protection detail, or in public safety terms, fire department, rescue squad, search and rescue unit. The list goes on and on. Usually this is to activate pagers, like minuter pagers, or if you have a cell phone and you're running a scanner app and you hear the beep boop, this is essentially what comes across. So to demonstrate, I'm going to be using my squad
Zone 1.
where we have the page set up, and it is on talk around, so it's not going to go through a repeater, and it shouldn't give anyone any issues. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the handy dandy Baofeng, and I'll show you what it sounds like. So, and it's very similar to the 5000, the 2500. You're going to go through and you're going to select quick call 2, and then you're going to go through using your keypad and select which person, which vehicle, which group you're trying to alert. Okay, you can set it up that when you hit one of the 3 programmable buttons on the side of the radio, either button 1, 2, or 3, not to push to talk, buttons 1, 2, and 3 up here, you can send across your page. So we're going to go ahead and select admin for demonstration purposes, and this is what it'll sound like when you page or call out another radio. WDX899, this is a pager test. Do not respond. No emergency. WDX899, this is a pager test. No emergency. Do not respond. Gotta make a little announcement just in case. Don't want someone responding to the building thinking that the town's on fire or some shit's going down. But yeah, that's essentially how Quick Call 2 works. Now, again, you can have an audible push-to-talk tone, not to be mistaken with this tone. The push-to-talk tone is either a long tone or a very short tone. And then your system pre-time is 500, and this is how it is set by default. We don't use the Quick Call 2 on the 800 megahertz, but if you were to set it up, you would set this, I would say probably about 200, either between 200, 150, or 100. That's how long the system takes to receive your transmission. Okay, and that's how it's supposed to look and be set up. So your call list, you can go through, you can make a list, so you can put EMS, you can put PD, TAC. You can go ahead and select whatever alias you want. Then you go through and you can put in your alias, your call format, which can be either long tone or 2-tone, and that's again what I was talking about, where it's a long singular drawn out tone, or it's the high low or low high, whatever you set it up as. So it's fairly user friendly, not very hard. But DTMF system, this is essentially when, and again, this is by default also, so I'm gonna have to go through and do the same thing. Back in the day, New Jersey utilized the DTMF system to call hospitals from the ambulances over frequencies known as GEMS. So your primary ID is obviously your radio number. Your group ID is the group that you belong to. And again, you can have your trailing, leading, and your side tone selected. When you go to advanced, same beast. You're going to select your system pre-time, your call reset, the auto reset time, acknowledgement type, and your transmit tone duration. So again, fairly simple and straightforward. It's not really too complicated to set up the DTMF. Single tone, I'll be honest, I don't know anyone that uses the single tone system anymore. It's essentially just one continuous tone that comes across. I have not seen anyone use the single tone system in quite some time. But again, it's just like a simple, straightforward alert system. Astro system, the only type of alerting that I've seen in the Astro system is the call, where you can set up a call list, where you can send out pages and receive calls. So you can set this to either individual or group, like we stated before in the other systems. Your call ID and your call ID text. So it could be something simple for, let's say, fire, EMS, PD, and you can call or page whoever is utilizing that frequency individually or as a group. And that's essentially how all the different call settings and talk permit settings are set up. Real quick, we can go ahead and go to a conventional personality so you can see how that looks. So, I believe I set this up for personality number 2. Yeah. So, in your personality, in order for it to work, this would be channel 2. Go to receive, have it in mixed. I like to set mine to 7, so it's finely tuned. Receive emphasis and busy OED. I have this set to and unmute or mute. Transmit. Oh, I don't know why this is on Astro. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, same process. For your receive options, again, non-Astro, you can put mixed, fine tune for 7. For transmit, usually, if you want to keep people from ranting and raving on your radio, I usually set this to 1, but you can set it to 60 seconds, 30 seconds, or 120. I think 120 is fair. Your transmit voice signal type, you're gonna have to leave this as non-Astro for now. Go to transmit, that'll be non-Astro, and then receive, you can put in mixed. Signaling, this is where you're gonna select your platform. So you can either have none, so it's just A to B conversation, MDC 1200, quick call 2, or your DTMF. We'll select MDC 1200, system number 1, vert channel number 1. Push talk ID, emergency push to talk ID. You should have those both selected so you can get the most out of your MDC 1200 capabilities. I usually select all of these, so call alert decode, in-call user alert enable. Secure, we're not going to be utilizing any secure operations. Phone operation, you can set this up as you see appropriate. For DTMF and quick call, if you select your signaling as quick call, you go to the appropriate box and just go ahead and check your options. Like so. Fireground, I usually put fireground enable and transmit as analog, and you don't have to worry about your registration. But in your personality, you'll have different applications for signaling. So whatever you're utilizing, whether it's analog or P25 capable, or if it's analog, these are going to be your top 3 options anyway. So MDC, quick call, and DTMF. And then of course if you're in Astro, you're going to use none. Let's get out of there. Last thing, in zone channel assignment, you're going to go to the zone that you are utilizing these systems in. If FPP is enabled, which it most likely would be for most of my viewers, you're going to make sure that's selected so you can change anything in the radio on the fly. You could put protected zone, meaning that there has to be a password in order to get in and make the changes. And then for your channels. So if you have channel announcement, that will be selected here. I'll do a video on channel announcement soon. For your personality type, most likely it's going to be just conventional all around. You're not going to be using trunking with MDC 1200 unless it's an analog trunk system. Personality, so whatever system you want to have on your personality is what you're going to select there. Talk group number, and strapping are not relevant in this case. And then you can just go through and make sure your transmit receive frequencies are where they should be. Your PL codes would be selected here. So DPL, your PL type, all that good stuff right there. So I mean, that's just a brief overview. I mean, the best way to really figure this out if you're not sure what you're doing is to just go into each individual system, make the changes that you see you need to make. Okay, go through, go to the zone, highlight the channel, and then make sure that the personality you're working with up there matches the channel 1 through 15, or 16 rather. Make sure that the personalities in the channel are the way that you want them to be. And then just go through, select the different options, you know, just find out what really works for you. Now, if you're on an organization like a rescue squad, fire department, police department, you know, you really should check with your system administrator or someone else on the department that has their radio set up so you can copy the same type of signaling. But if you're just enjoying the hobby, if you're interested and you love all things Motorola, have fun. Use the software, make sure you're using the correct equipment, make sure you got a good battery, good antenna, and just go through and mess around with everything. I will say for the MDC 1200, it is still very popular. If you're going to have an MDC system set up, you should. I would like to toot my own horn and say I would strongly recommend you follow these steps if you're looking for MDC 1200 capabilities on your radio. I'm not an expert. I'm not really the best person as far as experience. I've just gone by what works for me and what I've seen work in other agencies and other radios. Usually MDC and Quick Call 2 are the top to work with aside from digital communications. All your digital stuff is going to come through Astro. Analog is MDC and Quick Call 2. Unless you're getting into the Apex line where Quick Call 2 is P25. So, anyway, I apologize if my video seems a little hasty, but I am approaching 30 minutes and I wanted to go through and kind of select the options and show everyone how I've made the signaling applications work on my radios. I can go through and do different button functions. In fact, I'll probably make a series. I guess we'll consider this like a first step, showing you briefly how to go through and select different options to make different functions work in your radio. And yeah, we'll just go from there. So the next video that I'm going to see if I can put up is starting off with essentially from scratch, how to go through and set up your radio, how to enable different options like emergency. It's going to take some time, you know, between the workshop, family. It's going to take some time, but we'll get through it. That's what makes it fun, right? So guys, I hope that you found this somewhat helpful. I hope that it answered some, if not at least one or two of your questions. And like I said, as we go forward, I'll keep making more videos and we'll tackle at least 3 subjects for however long it takes. So the next video that we're going to do is the radio wide configuration. Now we don't really have to go into that. So we'll do radio wide, we'll do controls and display and menu, and go from there. Well guys, as always, it's a pleasure to make these videos for you. If you like what I'm putting out, please make sure you subscribe so I know that the content is being received well. And I'll be sure to keep up with my activity on the page and make sure you guys are receiving the appropriate information. And as always, if I make a mistake or if you find something out to be contrary, please don't hesitate to contact me via the comment section, and I'll be sure to review it. And if corrections or adjustments need to be made, I will reach out to you and give you a thumbs up and a thank you for your input. But yeah guys, that's gonna do it for today. So much love, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.